The alarms were already screaming when I found her. My name does not matter to you, human listener, but I will give it anyway. I am Vesic, 3rd Scout of the Omare Colony Fleet, and on the night everything changed, I was crawling through a wrecked cargo hold, with my weapon shaking in my hands, following a heat signal that should not have existed. We had been ambushed an hour earlier. The Kreth raiders hit our convoy without warning, tearing through our escort ships like they were made of paper. My captain gave the order to scatter, and in the chaos, my shuttle got knocked into a drifting wreck field. That is where I found the human. She was folded into a broken escape pod, one arm pinned under a collapsed support beam, blood soaking through a torn flight suit. Her eyes opened when my light hit her face, and instead of screaming, she just breathed out and said one word: "Finally." I did not know what to do with that. I had heard of humans, of course. Every species in this quadrant had heard the stories, the warnings, the rumors that trailed behind their name like smoke behind a fire. Nobody knew if the stories were true. Nobody wanted to be the one who found out. I should have called it in. Command protocol was clear. Any unidentified survivor, especially one from an unaligned power, was to be reported and held for the Coalition Council to decide her fate. But my communicator was dead, my ship was drifting, and the girl in front of me had a piece of metal crushing her arm. So I pulled her free instead. She gasped once, sharp and controlled, like she had trained herself not to make noise even when it hurt. I wrapped the wound with strips torn from my own uniform. She watched my hands the whole time, studying me the way you study something you are deciding whether to trust. "You're not going to hand me over," she said. It was not a question. "I have not decided," I told her, which was a lie. I had already decided the moment I pulled her out. Her name was Mira. She told me that much, while I dragged her toward the only working shuttle left in the wreck field. She was part of a small human survey team, out here, on the edge of known space when the Kreth found her ship first. Everyone else on her crew was gone. She did not say the word for it. She did not have to. We made it back to my outpost 2 days later, running dark, avoiding every patrol we could see. I told my crew she was a wounded traitor. Nobody believed me, but nobody said anything either. Not at first. Then Commander Dorvat found out. Dorvat was not cruel. Not exactly. He was tired and scared, and responsible for 400 lives on a colony station that had no real defenses. When he learned a human was hiding in our medical bay, he did not see a person. He saw a bargaining chip. "The Kreth are hunting for her," he told me, standing in the corridor outside the medical bay, his voice low so the other officers would not hear. "They have already sent a message to every station in this sector. Whoever hands her over gets left alone. Whoever hides her gets erased along with her. So we give her to people who will hurt her," I said, "to save ourselves. To save 400 people, Vesic. 400 against one." I did not have a clever answer for that. I only had a feeling in my chest that would not let me agree with him, a feeling that told me if I let this happen, I would never be able to look at myself again. So instead of answering, I walked away, went to the medical bay, and told Mira what was coming. She was sitting up by then, arm in a sling, watching the door like she already expected trouble. "Your commander is going to trade me," she said. "Not if I can stop it." She studied me again, that same weighing look. "Why do you care? You barely know me. Your own people are the ones at risk." I thought about that question for a long moment before I answered honestly. "Because you did not beg. You did not scream when I pulled you free, even though it must have hurt more than anything you have felt in your life. You looked at me and said one word, 'Finally,' like you already believed someone would come." "I did believe it," she said quietly. "My people do not leave each other behind. I did not think it would be someone else's people who found me first, but I believed it anyway." Something about the way she said it settled into me like a stone dropping into still water. I made my choice right there. I moved her to a maintenance section near the outer hull, A narrow corridor with a single door and an old escape pod bay behind it. One of the few places on the station Dorvat's people rarely patrolled. I told her to stay quiet, stay hidden, and wait. Then I went to face my commander. He was not surprised to find me refusing his order. He was furious, but not surprised. "You will get us all killed for a stranger," he said. "She stopped being a stranger the moment I decided to save her," I answered. "If that makes me a fool, then I am a fool who can still sleep at night." He locked me out of the command deck after that. Word spread fast through the station, the way it always does in small places where everyone knows everyone's business. Some crew members looked at me with disgust. A few looked at me with something closer to respect, though none of them said it out loud. Fear has a way of making people quiet. 2 days later, the Kreth ships arrived. There were 3 of them, hanging in the dark outside our station like patient predators, sensors sweeping every deck for a heat signature that matched human biology. Dorvat tried to negotiate. I do not know exactly what he offered them, but I know it was not enough, because their weapons stayed hot, and their demand stayed the same. Give them the human, or watch the station burn. I barricaded the maintenance corridor with everything I could drag into place: crates, broken panels, anything heavy enough to slow down boarders. Mira stood beside me, arms still healing, refusing to sit this out in the escape pod alone. "You should not be doing this," she said, as I welded the last support beam into place. "Neither should you be standing here helping me," I said. "And yet..." She managed something close to a laugh, tired and thin, but real. Fair point. Boarding alarms tore through the station a few minutes later. I could hear distant sounds of the Kreth cutting through outer hatches, the whole structure groaning under the strain. My hands were shaking again, worse than before, but I kept working, kept reinforcing the door, because giving up was no longer something I knew how to do. In a quiet moment, while the noise outside grew closer, Mira turned to me. "If this goes wrong," she said, "I want you to know something. Humans remember. Whatever happens to me tonight, my people will know your name. They will know what you did." "That will not help either of us if that door fails," I said. "No," she agreed, "but it matters anyway." I found an old emergency transmitter in the maintenance closet, a battered thing nobody had used in years, tuned to a wide, open frequency that Mira said human patrol ships sometimes monitored out here on the frontier. I did not believe it would reach anyone in time. I sent the signal anyway, because doing something felt better than doing nothing, while the door shook under the weight of Kreth boarding charges. The door held for 11 minutes. I counted every one of them. Then, just as the first charge blew a hole through the outer plating, the whole station shuddered from something much larger outside. Alarms changed pitch. Through a cracked viewport down the corridor, I saw it, ships translating into the system in formation. More of them than I had ever seen gathered in one place, sleek and fast, and utterly certain of themselves. Human ships, not a rescue shuttle, not a single ship slipping in quietly. An answer, sent in force, arriving like judgment. A voice crackled over every open channel on the station at once, calm, flat, and absolutely unwilling to be argued with. It gave the Kreth commander one instruction: withdraw immediately, or be destroyed where you sit. I expected the Kreth to fight. Everyone did. Instead, through the same cracked viewport, I watched their 3 ships break off, turn, and vanish into the dark faster than I thought their engines could manage. An empire that had shrugged off my people's entire defense fleet without slowing down, chose, without hesitation, to run rather than face what had just arrived. That was the moment I understood. Humans were not an unknown quantity out here after all. To the ones who had actually met them, they were something closer to a warning everyone already respected. Human boarding teams reached our corridor not long after. They cut through the barricade carefully, calling Mira's name before they even reached the door, and when they found her alive, the relief on their faces was not performance. It was real. What surprised me more was what happened next. They did not simply collect her and leave. Their medics moved through our station, treating wounded crew members who had nothing to do with any of it. Their engineers patched hull damage from the boarding assault. A tall woman with steady eyes, clearly in command, found me standing in the wrecked corridor and studied me for a long moment before speaking. "You are the one who hid her," she said. "I am. You knew what it might cost you." "I did." She nodded slowly, the way someone nods when a debt has been properly understood. "Then you should know this. What you did tonight will not be forgotten, not by her, not by us. Consider it repaid, with interest." I did not fully understand what that meant until the following months, when Kreth patrols that once circled our sector without concern began keeping their distance. When trade routes that used to ignore small stations like ours suddenly ran through us. When other powers, ones who had never spared my people a second glance, started treating our small, unremarkable colony with unmistakable caution. I had only meant to save one person, because leaving her to die felt wrong. I never expected that single choice to wrap an entire fleet's protection around everyone I had ever known. Mira visited once more before she shipped out for good, standing in the same corridor where we had waited out that long night together. She did not say much. She did not need to. She simply placed her palm against the wall beside the repaired door, looked at me, and smiled. "Finally," she said again, and this time, we both understood exactly what it meant.